Pretty good. John DeNugent is my guest today, and we're talking about the white race, which is basically synonymous with the Solutreans, isn't it?
Well, you could say basically yes. You know, the issue is if you believe in evolution, I believe evolution is possible. I believe in the human soul. I believe in God. I believe in Alpha. I don't believe the Darwinistic notion that we're just a bunch of animals. You know, white animals, brown animals, yellow animals, black animals. I don't believe in that. I don't believe the nature of life is to kill off other races or have them kill us off. Or as Herbert Spencer once said, nature red in tooth and claw. You know, I don't believe in a jungle type world where we're all trying to kill each other so we can survive. I believe that we are advancing to a more godlike and angel-like state. And kindness and love are a very important part of the equation. But it would seem that there's some truth to the idea that we come from the Cro-Magnons, who were an early kind of modern human being. They were big and husky in the Ice Age. They're like built like football players. They looked like the white race if everybody was in the NFL, because you had to deal with extreme cold in the Ice Age. And our competitors were the Neanderthals. We were superior to them. They were very inflexible. They were uncreative. They were tough and strong. But we actually pushed them right out of Europe. And the white race developed in Europe, and at some point became fully modern human beings, with the ability to invent cave paint. The Solutreans invented the beautiful cave paintings of Lascaux and these underground galleries in these caves with pictures of the bison on the wall, and elephants and lions and rhinos and everything in the Ice Age. I mean, Europe was full of animals we associate with Africa today. But, the symbol of Britain is the lion. Well, there were lions in Britain in those days. There were rhinoceroses in France. There were elephants in Italy. You know, it was a very different world. And
I don't know those cave. I just somehow, John, I just picture, in those days, a bunch of hippies sitting around painting the walls up of their caves. I don't know.
Well, yeah, they were smoking something and they were painting.
Yeah, maybe
but
so.
The thing is,
that's been around for 10,000 years.
Yeah, but the Neanderthals did not do cave painting. They could hardly even make jewelry for their women. They were very unimaginative. You look at any Neanderthal cave, there's no art on the walls. You think of all the times at night or in the winter, you got the little fire going. You can't do much. You can't hunt. You can't fish. Everything's frozen. They're just sitting there staring at the cave wall. Yeah. Neanderthals never decided to decorate it, but the Cro-Magnons did, and they came up with a modern hunting technology with the flint arrowheads and spearheads, javelins, and so forth. They also developed the sewing needle, very, very important step in making modern clothing. The ability to sew with a little eye at the end, the circle. They invented very important things. And when the Ice Age was killing them off, around 23,000 BC, in what is called the glacial maximum, that temperatures plummeted. The animals they were hunting, such as wild horses and woolly mammoths, they were dying out because they couldn't get through the snow to the grass underneath. And the grass wasn't growing well because you had 8 months of snow every year. So the animals we were hunting were dying. So these Solutreans, Solutreans, that's the name in anthropology, the Solutrean culture. We find it all over France and Spain, because everything else was covered with ice. I mean, there wasn't much left to Europe because of the glaciers, where you could live at all. I mean, these glaciers are a mile high. They took to sea, and there was an ice shelf that went from France straight over to New England, and just like the Eskimos even 100 years ago, you could spearfish with your boat. And when it got cold and it got to be nighttime, you pull your boats up on the ice shelf, you flip the boats together, you put down some furs on the ice, you take some whale blubber or something, you get a little fire going with the fat, and you've got a lean-to. And you lay yourself down to sleep at night, and you put some more furs on top of you. That's how the Eskimos did it, and that's how our Solutrean ancestors did it. And that is why we find white skeletons all over North America, and their hunting tools. From 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 BC. And it's ancient DNA. It's not modern DNA. It's not modern whites. It's ancient white people. So we know we were here first, and these professional anti-racism teachers who say, well, the white man took the Indians' land. No, the Indians took the white man's land, and the Indians horribly massacred and genocided the original white Native Americans. The Native Americans were white, and the Indians killed them. That is a shocking reversal. And you can't protect our race and our civil rights until you banish the guilt trip that we whites are a criminal race of oppressors and supremacists. We came here to America because we were starving and dying in Europe because of the Ice Age. It drove us out. Yeah.
The Jews that are attacking us, I mean, this is all organized. This all came out. I didn't know anything about the Jewish issue, didn't care about Christianity, didn't care about nothing, really. You know, and then all of a sudden, when the government massacred Americans, I said, this ain't Red China, man, this can't be happening. And then suddenly, the Jews started attacking me. Now, it's been the Jews through the ADL and Southern Poverty Law that have been attacking me all along. And they did the same thing to McCarthy for talking about communists. Hey, some of Roosevelt's best friends were communists. So we've been fighting this battle a long time. You know, look at Lindbergh. You know, they kidnapped his grandson or son. They kidnapped him. They tried to silence anybody that stood up against this communist style fifth plank Communist Manifesto, central bank, heavily progressive graduated income tax. Anybody that tried to stand up to that, they've come after. I think that's why they've come after me, and they're coming after you. They do not want us to organize the race. We haven't done. The Jews brought the blacks over here. Their own people sold them out. You know, so they showed up over here, and I think I've sat around and chatted with black guys, making millions of bucks up in penthouses on Miami Beach. They've done well for themselves, and I don't have any problem with that. Yeah.
Well, you know, it is a very important point that when you talk about whites in the slave trade, the Negro slave trade, I would like to say to somebody, well, what are you claiming here? Are you claiming white slave traders penetrated deep into the jungles of Africa and personally captured the blacks, put them in chains, took them down to the beach, loaded them in these sailing ships, and sailed over the Atlantic? Are you saying the whites went into Africa and dragged the blacks out? Is that what you're claiming? And they look at you with this blank stare. It says, no, because actually the black tribal chieftains would just raid another village, and sometimes they'd enslave their own wife and children for a bottle of rum. The blacks went and got the blacks. They got other blacks, and they sold them as slaves. And the main people running the whole thing were Jews. The Jews financed the building of the slave ships from Newport, Rhode Island. I grew up in Rhode Island. I lived to Newport. Huge synagogue in Newport, Rhode Island. It's the oldest synagogue in the United States. It was run on money from the slave. The Jews financed the slave ships. The Jews were the captains on the slave ships. The Jews were the crews on the slave ships. And any black that got sick during the so-called passage from Africa over to North America, they just threw them in the drink, threw them to the sharks. The Jews ran the slave trade. The Jews paid and bribed with rum and money the black African chieftains to enslave other blacks and bring them down to the beach. White people didn't do that. It was a Jewish thing. And the other thing I say to people is this. If you're growing cotton or peanuts or anything down in the deep south in the old days, and you're paying white labor to do the picking, okay, you got a lot of wages to pay. If your neighbor fires all his white employees and he brings in Negroes, he brings in African blacks, he doesn't have to pay them a dime. You just have to give them food and a hut to sleep in. So who's going to go out of business? You're going to go out of business because you're paying white people a decent living wage, and he's paying his Negroes nothing. So it forced, once one businessman started bringing in slaves, which is free labor, everybody had to get slaves. That's what the Jews counted on. Everybody would have to have a Negro slave to stay in business at all. It wasn't a matter of, I want to own slaves, I want to be a slave plantation owner, I want to be the master.
John,
it wasn't that
I have been telling people...
Got slaves or you went out of business.
I have been telling people for 20 years that they have really refined the art of slavery to the point that the slaves don't know they're slaves. I am not a slave, man. I can get in my pickup and go down and get a beer. And I'm sorry, I think that's a form of slavery, you know. And we are being indoctrinated to accept this. You know, they've just refined it, man. They said the whole IRS central bank communist. Fifth plank on the Communist Manifesto, second plank on the Communist Manifesto. They're following a plan right down to the letter, right here, right now. And if we try to talk about it, we're being called racist or anti-Semitic. This is and I've got tapes of a Jewish lady going, "That's a trick we use. That's a trick we use. He's anti-Semitic. Look."
I know it. They admit a lot of stuff. They really do. Yeah.
Now, how do we oppose this? If the these enslavers, if these people that want to bring down this country just the same way they brought down Argentina, they brought down all of these countries and Russia too, take over Russia. How do we oppose that if we're demonized, if we even talk about it? Clay, you just do so much better if you didn't talk about the Jews and marijuana. You shouldn't talk about marijuana.
Yeah. Well, I know it. Well, you know, basically people think that there's a cowardly way to victory. By beating around the bush, we will crush our enemies. You know, it's because they're cowards, and it makes them uncomfortable when you act like a hero. It holds up a mirror to the fact they don't want to do nothing.
I've said this is the drawback we've had to anybody subscribing or supporting me. If it dawns on you that what we're talking about is right, that we could take back the power that we've always had. They've never, if they were as smart as they think they are, if they were as powerful as they think they are, we'd still be under the Roman Empire, the Syrian Empire.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
and that's why they're scared of us, because we're white people. We don't like being slaves. We won't be slaves. I won't be a slave. No, I won't. Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Well, it's really part of one of the traits of a higher race is you have the ability for self-discipline and self-control. You don't want to be a slave to somebody else. You want to evolve to the point of self-responsibility and create art and music and government that suits you and not be under anybody's boot. I mean, a child needs to be controlled. A dog needs to be under control. But an advanced human being needs guidance. He needs protection from lawless elements. But he can run his own life. He wants to run his own life. He is a fully adult, evolved soul. And that is the nature of the white race. I mean, you look at the way the Chinese live, the Japanese. You know, I've lived very close to a steel mill here in Pittsburgh, and I was talking with a fellow at a local bar the other day, and he said, I saw a PowerPoint presentation on some big steel mill in China. And this is how these people live, Clint. They built this mill out in the desert. It's bleak. You know, how could you get people to even move out to such a bleak place? Well, you just order them to. Okay. So tens of thousands of people, this huge steel mill. They all live in huts. They live in huts surrounding the steel mill. The manager of the steel mill has a moped. That's how rich he is. He can afford a moped. They walk or they take their bikes to work. It's a slave life. It's the life like a beehive for these people. And the Chinese are okay with that. Obey and work. And go home and sleep. Eat rice. Make more Chinese. And go home and sleep. Yeah, damn, that's not a lifestyle that white people could ever get used to. We're an individualistic race, a freedom-loving race. We are a race that is, I would say, in some ways, the least animal-like of all the race. By the way, here's an interesting sort of side topic. A very simple called Erectus Walks Among Us. Homo erectus was supposedly like an early ape man, a million years ago. And a friend of mine, Dr. Richard Truly, has 5 degrees. He's a brilliant retired lawyer of chemical patents, and he has degrees in anthropology and all kinds of things. He says, this is very interesting, that the modern blacks are a result of a further development from chimpanzee, whereas whites and Asians come from a completely different primate, that is our physical ancestors. Again, I believe in God, I believe in the soul, I believe in Christ. I'm comfortable with both ideas, that our physical bodies are somewhat monkey-like, but we had souls. I 100% believe that, and all my guide videos prove how strongly I believe that. But this book says, and it's very convincing to me, that the white and Asian race are the result of a further development of orangutans. And it's interesting, you think of the orangutans often red hair and they have light hair. It's sort of interesting. I was joking with somebody the other day about this. Says, yeah, you got light hair too. He says, you probably come from the orangutans. I have to laugh. But actually, whites and Asians do look more like orangutans. But it's just a surface. It's just a silly little side point. But the point is, so this fellow at the bar talked with the other day, he says, so do you believe we all come from the same primate, the same monkey man or something? It says, no. It says, the blacks probably come from the chimpanzee in Africa, and whites and Asians, who are similar, both have straight hair, both have high IQ, work ethic. There's a lot of similarities in ways that we're advanced between whites and people like the Chinese, the Koreans, the Japanese, and whatnot. They're, very hardworking, intelligent people. With straight hair, by the way. We're different from the Asians, but we're a lot more similar to Asians than we are to blacks.
Just out of curiosity here, since we kind of scripting around here, what about the 9-foot red-haired giants that developed on this continent that were found here 6,000 or 7,000 years ago? Who were those people?
Is that like Bigfoot or?
No, these are mummies that they found that were like 9 feet tall, 8 feet tall.
And were they completely human?
Yes.
Mm. Well, that's an interesting topic. While we are jumping around, but the History Channel has had a lot of documentaries on the topic of what they call ancient astronauts.
Yes.
It's pretty darn interesting. Suggesting that there are actually many different species of quote-unquote aliens. This is the History Channel saying this, not me.
Right.
The History Channel is saying that all kinds of aliens have been visiting the Earth. In fact, a friend of mine who knows a lot about this is, these comedy movies with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, Men in Black. He says they're all spoofs of an actually serious and real topic. That the U.S. government is aware that many different species do visit the Earth. Here is what is very interesting, though, about all this. It would seem, and I'm not saying this lightly, I'm not just tossing up some BS here, it would seem that among the species which visit the Earth, in some cases keep each other in check. So none of these species is permitted to enslave our planet, because another species would object to it. There seems to be some kind of like super Swedish-looking, Aryan-looking race, which is way the heck out there in Alpha Centauri. And they're like space Aryans, Aryan aliens. And we are their country cousins. We're primitive, we're degenerate.
The gods came down, they bred with the attractive women among the men, and who was their offspring? I would say that would be us. I don't know, now, what you just talked about, everything you just discussed, I wrote about in my novel 40 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Very
sir.
interesting.
And it's called it was called The Future Past. That started out as a short story. That's evolved into the Lucifer Legacy. And my character, born 10,000 years ago in the Atlantean culture, they had been traveling to the stars for thousands of years. And they knew that there was what I called a conjunction coming up, planets crossing, you know, to do enough damage to create like the asteroid belt, and created a flood on Earth that wiped out the whole Atlantean culture. Changed the whole coastline of the Earth, just as you talked about. And they had built, because they knew it was coming for years, they built pyramids and built storage and their batteries and their technology and their libraries, and they put some of those libraries in their what I called Earth ships. They made a few of those. These are basically magnetic powered UFOs capable of traveling from here to the moon and coming back by supper. And one of them was called the Olympus, one of them was called the Asgard, and one of them was called Heaven. My character was the co-captain of the Earthship Heaven, and the captain of the Earthship, Yahweh, went crazy after his wife was killed by an asteroid that was striking all over the Earth. And my character Lucifer told the Captain Yahweh, "Hey, get your shit together, man. You got the whole world is depending on you. Our whole culture is contained right here in this ship. You know, we can so get it together, or I'll take over." And so he kicked him out of the Earthship Heaven to the hell that was Earth, and he becomes part of my story after I meet him in a biker bar. So, you know, it's I think, you know, I mean, there was a massive find down in the Grand Canyon that somehow got hid, showing civilizations here. Now I've got another theory too, John. Now you're probably the perfect person to ask this about, because you certainly don't ascribe to my all of my beliefs or my philosophy in life, but you know, I think it's quite possible that 10,000 years ago aliens came down and you know, taught us how to grow crops, taught us how to mine. You know, because all these civilizations here, all these, you know, the pyramids and the massive advanced civilizations and building techniques that we still haven't mastered today, that they're all in prime dope growing regions. So maybe we were colonized by interstellar drug dealers. What do you think?
Well, you know, it may sound crazy to somebody if they just heard what you just said out of context. But you look at these Discovery Channel show or History Channel shows called Ancient Astronauts. It's pretty darn convincing. I mean, they show these rock carvings. What you see clearly is certain kinds of aliens. Like there's one group of aliens, supposedly the Greys. They're short, about 4 feet tall, with gray skin and beady black eyes, sort of almond shaped at a tilt, and a skinny little chin and a tiny little mouth and all that stuff. I mean, thousands and thousands of people have seen them. I know somebody who saw them. It's real. It's real. I mean, the polls show a large percentage of the American people now believe in UFOs. A large, huge percentage.
Well, you know,
people won't laugh at you anymore like they used to.
Just offhand. This is one planet in a solar system of you know, probably more planets than you know, and that's in a galaxy, and there's more galaxies. What are the odds that we're the only ones out there that are capable of rational thought? And couldn't this have been? I think we've been a galactic society for millions of years, and we're just now trying to get a grasp on it here. And you know, planets are created. We're about to see some passing here. There's something going to be happening here this year. I think it's already happening. The volcanoes are going off. The land masses are moving. I think we're going to see Mississippi become an inland sea and divide the United States.
Yes, well, a lot of people say that. Edgar Casey certainly predicted that. If people believe, as I do, in the 100% reality of an afterlife, of a higher spiritual world, and of reincarnation, which is the ancient Aryan belief, the Vikings believed it, the ancient Germanic people, the ancient Celtic people, that many of the ancient Greeks, including Pythagoras, invented the Pythagorean theorem and the numeral pi, and Plato, and of course the Aryans of India, the Buddhists and the Hindus, they all believed in it. If you really believe in that, then you don't have this reaction of fear like, oh, Clay, I don't want to think about catastrophes happening to the continent of North America and inundations and the big inland seas spreading where Mississippi is and so forth, and land masses and the crust of the earth going up and down. Oh my God, it's too scary. No, we never die in billions of years. We never. When you die, if a shotgun hits you in the head right now, you won't be dead for 1/10 of a second. You go through a tunnel of light immediately, and you go and you meet your spirit guides. Your life is judged, and you go on to the next thing.
And my character, the character that I'm talking about, the novel that I'm talking about that will be out this year, my character has been back many, many times, remembers all of his past lives, and I even wrote a poem about that. Hi Lily, hi laughing, hi low, I'm living, I'm loving, I'm dying, I know, but life's meant for living before we must go, and dying is only a moment or so.
Wow, oh, very, very good. I like that. You ought to really finish and publish that novel.
I am finishing it. I've been carrying it around for 40 years. For 40 years, I've been carrying that novel around. There's actually two, because I take it into the future when your Messiah, your Antichrist shows up. Half the world thinks he's the Messiah, half the world thinks he's the Antichrist. But he's just the latest incarnation of the character that started with Lucifer, and you might know him as you might have known him as the man called Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, I think that the idea of a higher being such as Jesus and other great men and women throughout history, it's just not all that fanciful. When you believe in reincarnation, there are higher souls. They may not have a lot of bad karma to burn off, or a lot of things they need to experience, or sins they need to pay for. They come here as teachers of mankind to lift us up unselfishly. Somebody like Jesus, preaching love and forgiveness and humility and serving others. I mean, the most beautiful thing for me about Jesus is the disciples he catches the disciples. He walks in there squabbling about who is the #1 disciple. And Jesus is disgusted. Look at you, you're fighting, which is my #1 assistant here. So he takes out a bowl, fills it with water, like a slave, and he starts washing their feet. Their stinky, swelly, dusty feet, which is what a slave does. If you go to a rich man's house, it's one of the conveniences. He has the slave wash your feet for you. In the Middle East, people just walk around with sandals and they're all dusty and whatnot. And the disciples are horrified. He says, Master, you can't be washing our feet. We serve you. And he says, the greatest among you shall be as the least. And the least one will be the greatest. Just be humble and serve others. Love others. Don't judge them because you don't know the whole story. If you're severe in judging others, God will be harsh in judging you. I mean, this is a completely advanced being from a higher world. And when you believe in reincarnation, as I do, God continually sends higher and advanced beings to teach us. And we should listen to them and appreciate them. There's a real spiritual side to you, Clay. I mean, this novel sounds really exciting. I hope you can